In the last couple of segments, I developed a relationship model to depict why it was that Network Magic, a high-tech startup, is suffering from just what they wished for. They prayed for success but never planned for it. And now that they are successful, they are suffering from trying to figure out how to maintain the desired level of support readiness because the customer base is growing on an ongoing basis, which means it takes more support personnel to serve the users, and because the rest of the organization is also growing rapidly, the best place for the rest of the organization to find people who understand the customer, the company, and the products is to steal them from support, which makes support's job even more difficult. And the easiest way to deal with this problem, to actually make it just go away, is to issue an edict and say that the rest of the organization can't raid resources from support. Things being what they are on an ongoing basis, you probably understand how well that will go over. It's something that sounds good, like it will deal with the situation, it will be good for support, but it won't do anything for the rest of the organization. And the rest of the organization needing additional employees to the degree that it does, it will find a way to circumvent the edict that says you can't raid resources from support. So there are a number of things that can be done. Typically, when an organization is suffering from a resource shortage, they initiate additional projects that require more resources to make the situation even worse, requiring additional resources. But in this instance, what seems to make the greatest amount of sense, and you can make comments to let me know whether it does or not, is that we first delay this. We don't say that you will never be able to hire resources from support. We just delay it a little bit to let support catch up. And we change the responsibility of support so that they are tasked with supporting the customer and developing individuals that understand the customer, the company, and the products. Now, the way that we get to this, there's a paper that was done by Donella Meadows called Leverage Points, Places to Intervene in a System. And there's a link to this in the Kumu project itself, wherein she presents 12 ways to interact with a system. And as you go from 12 down to 1, they have greater influence over the system, though are typically more difficult to implement. And I'll someplace along the line, I've done a few videos on this, but I'll do another one in the not too distant future that describes each one of these individual approaches to dealing with the system. And when you walk through them and look at the relationship model, it gives you a way to look at it to say, well, what do we do with it? Now, once this delay happens and the resource requirements for support are increased because of their new role, the situation, you actually make the situation worse before it gets better, because the additional resources that support is now going to hire have to be trained, and somebody has to train them, which takes people away from supporting the customer. So there's going to be a dip in support readiness for a period of time, and then it will recover, and support will have more resources than they need. Admittedly, they're not likely to say they actually have excess resources, but they will have. And you can remove this delay, and the rest of the organization can begin to hire people from support. Additionally, some things that might be considered is support can implement a knowledge base, which contains known solutions so that new people can actually use those solutions to support the customer so that it improves support readiness, and they can employ statistics about what are causing the greatest number of problems in the organization with the customers so that engineering can figure out how to engineer them out of the product and actually improve the customer satisfaction with the product. And then once the knowledge base gets developed, support, if they will let go of their mindset that they believe they are the only ones capable of supporting the product, and allow the users to actually interact with the knowledge base so they can solve their own problems and actually contribute to the knowledge base so that the users actually contribute to support readiness. So if you work it in a sequential fashion over time, it's likely that the organization can actually almost exponentially improve their readiness without an exponential increase in resources. So those are some initial thoughts on how one might look at this situation and do some things. Now note that the things to be done are actually identified as changes to the relationship model, so that it gives you a sense of here's the set of relationships that we think we're trying to implement, which also gives you a sense of where you should plan on measuring things to see if things are going in the direction that you think or want them to go. And it's something that if you use Meadows leverage points and you work at it, it gets easier over time. You just walk the sequence and ask yourself, what are the things that we could alter about the model that actually improves the places where the pain points are. I hope you found this interesting, and I really appreciate thoughts about whether or not the strategy makes sense. And I'll see you in another video soon.